Hello Internet! With a 3.1 livestream, we're introduced with the coming banners in the adorable Tribbie and my daddy Mydei. Not to mention, we know there is a big Remembers character coming up, and there are also some pretty big reruns as well. And so today, we have a video where we break everything down to help you decide which character to go for. And yep, let's not waste any time, here we go. The first banner we have will be Tribbie, which is the most adorable 5-star quantum character of the Harmony path. To conclude her role, she is a versatile AoE buffer that can be used in any team except for Super Break, plus she does some damage as well. To take a look at her kit, her ultimate is an AoE attack that creates a unique dimension, much like Ranmei's ultimate. Within this dimension, the enemies take increased damage, and considering the similarities to Ranmei's ultimate, this dimension's duration should go down every time Tribbie herself takes her turn. This does suggest building Tribbie with a slower build, but that's not necessarily the case yet until we test it out. On top of that, this ultimate will deal damage to the enemy with the highest remaining HP, with the damage increasing based on the number of enemies hit. This suggests that her best ally will be the Herda versus multiple enemies to just slam infinite amount of damage constantly. Her talent further helps in terms of her damage, where Tribbie will launch an AoE follow-up attack every time your ally uses an ultimate, again making her a prime candidate for the Herda or even Face Yao. Her skill seems to be an AoE buff with a 3-turn duration. More info will have to wait for the official release though, because they didn't really talk too much about it, but I bet it's just going to be damage based buff. With all that said, the role of Tribbie seems to be a versatile AoE buffer with some damage to boot. Her kit shares similarities to the broken AoE buffers we have like Ranmei and Robin, with her unique touch being able to launch a multitude of AoE attacks as well. The obvious top tier ally for Tribbie will be the Herda. I can imagine the Herda getting her out way easier with Tribbie now, so if you do want to main the Herda, Tribbie is certainly a worthy investment. However, this is not to assume Tribbie cannot be used elsewhere though, considering she makes the enemy take more damage. Pretty much every team will benefit from Tribbie. Now the question is, should you pull for Tribbie though? My straight opinion is I suggest pulling for Tribbie if number 1, you own the Herda and you want to complete her team, or number 2, if you don't own at least 2 AoE buffers like Ranmei or Robin, while not aiming to build a Super Break team. Pretty specific, I know. You see, Tribbie is able to generally buff your damage output for standard crit DPS or even dot damage, which covers most of the game. While it's a no-brainer for the Herda mains, the other players without 2 completed teams yet will definitely need an AoE buffer, and Tribbie can be the person for you unless you're only gunning for Super Break. In that case, you can only wait for Ranmei. Otherwise, Tribbie is most certainly not a must-pull unless if you consider the potential future characters being designed to pair with her, but that's too much to think about, so I'll leave it at that. Do note as well, if you do love Tribbie, she is still a very solid character that can be used everywhere, and it's most certainly guaranteed that you will be able to use Tribbie for a long time, considering how easy it is to use her. With Tribbie out the way, it is now time to think about the Giga Shot that went 1v1 with Dados. We got Mydei. Mydei is a 5-star imaginary destruction character, and for a TLDR, he's a versatile DPS with great survivability. But whether or not he's broken, we can only wait for his actual numbers, which is simply the case for every DPS. To take a look at his kit, the first thing to note is that he is a HP scaler, meaning to say you want to build him with very high HP, much like a blade. The more HP he loses, the more damage he can deal. His skill consumes half of his HP and attacks the enemy along with 2 targets adjacent to it. This is pretty standard for a destruction character, and yep, that does mean Mydei can perform under multi-target scenarios. Mydei's talent here converts HP loss into this charge. Upon reaching 100 charge, he instantly heals a massive amount of HP, enters an enhanced state shown by this red aura, gains a free turn, and automatically uses this enhanced skill 1 as well. Yeah, it's a lot of things, dude. This enhanced skill 1 takes away a chunk of his HP and deals way more damage to the target and 2 targets adjacent to it. While he is in this enhanced state, Mydei trades defense for greatly increased max HP. Furthermore, if Mydei gains 150 charge under this state, he immediately attacks with enhanced skill 2, which simply does even more damage than his previous enhanced skill. After all of that, his kit still continues, where he has a revive mechanic shown in the livestream, and yep, it is just straight up not explained at all in the livestream. Like, I guess it's too long for a segment, considering he does a lot, not gonna lie. Moving on though, we still have his ultimate, which attacks the main target and 2 adjacent to it as well. Not much else is explained, but I bet you it does a lot more than just being an attack. They also explained on stream that the target you use your ultimate on decides which target your next enhanced skill 2 will mainly hit, which just translates to it's not that big of a deal. You usually should do this anyway. You're targeting the boss or like the enemy with the highest priority. So yeah, with all that said, Mydei's role seems to be a versatile DPS that has probably the best survivability out of every DPS in the game. He's able to focus his damage on the main target and can still dish out decent damage on surrounding enemies, which is stable for destruction characters. Now then, the question being, should you pull Mydei? Well, as I already mentioned, it all depends on his numbers. That is the case for all DPS. He could be immensely broken if his damage skill is insanely high or totally mid otherwise. In the end though, I can only give you a definitive answer once official numbers are out. But I can also give you another definitive answer, where unless you love Mydei a bunch and you want to main him, you may want to consider looking for the next Remembrance Path character in Castrus, which has already been drip marketed to come in the version after Mydei. She is of the Remembrance Path, and Huohuo did mention for the Holo version 3, there will be more focus on this new path. If you're enjoying of the new stuff, you may want to hold back on Mydei. Otherwise though, we shall wait for his numbers. I doubt it's going to be bad, so he should be a solid DPS that you can use in every game mode, kind of like a Yunli. And yes, speaking of Yunli, we can finally move on to the reruns. This time we got rerun banners for Yunli on phase 1 and gosh dang Huohuo for phase 2. I'll get the easier one out the way, which is Yunli, where she's simply a versatile DPS that can handle single and multi-target enemies, but none of which she completely dominates it. She can easily clear every endgame mode if given the physical weakness on the boss, but it is still a lot tougher to just beat any non-physical enemies with her. If you already own those one-fit-all type of teams like Akron or Facial teams, Yunli is certainly an optional choice. For newer players, as usual, I suggest prioritizing sustain, then 2 supports, and only then you think about the DPSs. Moving on, we have the big one, which is surprising considering she looks like she hates herself. We have Huohuo, which in my opinion is the best healer slash support in Honkai Star Rail so far. Huohuo has consistent healing and can cleanse off debuffs incredibly well. I would go as far as to say that she's the best cleanser in the whole game. And yeah, not to mention her energy regen on her ultimate makes her entire team clear stuff even quicker, given if you're using energy based teams. She can pair well with the new Aglaia that you have likely pulled for. She helps cleanse those pesky CC debuffs that all the enemies seems to have these days. And yeah, I just can't live without her, I'm not gonna lie. Not to mention she's even used for some of the fast clear teams in MOC, so yeah, she's pretty much the cream of the crop for even meta top. I would recommend everybody, new or old, to pick up a Huohuo if you're not saving for any of the current or future characters within this few versions. It is quite a worthy investment. For players that lack at least 2 good sustains, it's a no-brainer. Prioritize Huohuo. You cannot win if you just die after all. Now, to give you my direct opinion, I won't lie, as a player that has played for a long time and has multiple teams, I'll probably be mainly thinking about whether or not I want the Huohuo, where, you know, she's just the best healer in my opinion. But for every other character though, unless I specifically love them a lot, which I'm thinking a lot about Tribbie because they're adorable, but otherwise I would realistically say for the next character, considering I already have a lot of teams that are ready to go. Not to mention there are Castrus, which does have the new path, and I'm very excited for that one, man. In the lore, you literally just die if you walk closer to her. That has to be some insane character. But yep, with all that said, that'll be all for my analysis on the newer characters. Hope I've helped you out, and that is all. Take care.